Coming up on your weekly news show, a kite festival to remind us about the plight of refugees from Afghanistan.
The people used to fly them a lot before they got banned by the Taliban.
And clearing up our oceans, a teenager on a mission to get rid of marine litter.
The oceans around us in the UK are really important, and if you go diving down there, it's amazing.
Hello, if you want to know what's going on in the world right now, you've come to the right place.
Yep, and this week we're looking at the fallout from two different conflicts, starting with the war in Ukraine.
Yeah, it's been 6 months since Russia invaded Ukraine, and the fighting goes on.
Millions of families have had to flee their country, and you may have even had some Ukrainian kids joining your school.
But why is Russia doing this, and what's it all about? If you don't get it, don't worry, because I've been trying to find out. To truly understand why Ukraine has been invaded by Russia, we need to hit the history books and go back in time. From 1917, when the royal Russian family were overthrown, until 1991, we saw the rise and the fall of the Soviet Union, or the USSR. Ukraine was one of the 15 states that made up this giant country. All of them became independent countries when the Soviet Union's political system and economy collapsed in 1991, and its people demanded change. Russia was the country with the biggest power, surrounded by smaller states, as you can see here. Russia's current president, Vladimir Putin, came to power in 2000. He has always made it clear that the end of the Soviet Union angers him, and some world leaders believe he would like Russia to become a huge empire, similar to how the Soviet Union used to be back in the day. And he wants to claim back some of the former Soviet states. In 2008, Russia invaded neighbouring Georgia and took control of a large part of the country. It's very much like what he's doing with Ukraine now, trying to take back a former state that largely wants to be independent of Russian control. 2014 is a good year to look at the relationship between Ukraine and Russia. The then president of Ukraine, with a close relationship to Russia, faced huge protests demanding he quit. And when he did, Russia's Vladimir Putin thought that Ukraine was about to become more friendly with Western countries like the UK and the USA. So he sent in Russian soldiers to take control of Crimea, which is an area in the south of Ukraine. Let's travel in time right up to the present day. The Ukraine invasion is now a very complicated situation. Rebels are people who go against the government in power. In February, Russia sent in its troops to support rebels from the regions of Luhansk and Donetsk. The rebels wanted to be independent from Ukraine. So rebels with Russians began fighting against the Ukrainian army. But the most important thing to know is that this was just the start of a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. President Putin appeared on Russian TV to warn other countries not to try and stop them. There is huge support for Ukraine here in the West.
For all his bombs and tanks and missiles, I don't believe that the Russian dictator will ever subdue the national feeling of the Ukrainians and their passionate belief that their country should be free.
There are still large Russian communities in many former Soviet states, including Ukraine. While some would like to be part of Russia, world leaders say President Putin has no right to wade in. 6 months on from the start of the invasion, many cities lie in ruins. And the Russians have taken control of large areas in the south and the east of the country. But Ukrainian forces are refusing to give in, and with help of weapons supplies from Western countries, including the UK, President Zelensky remains determined to defend his country.
For Ukrainian children living in the UK, hearing about the war can be very upsetting for them as they still have friends and family back home.
So we're being joined by Dr. Krish Kandaya. He's part of a charity called the Sanctuary Foundation. They've been helping loads of Ukrainian people fleeing the war to find host families here in the UK. So am I right in saying that you've got someone staying with you?
That's right, we've got a lovely lady called Natasha. She feels already part of our family, even though we've only known her a month. She's a fantastic cook, and so we've tried this new food to us called borscht, which is actually a cabbage soup which doesn't sound very appetising, but it's really good.
So for many Ukrainian children who have joined our school, they still have friends and family back home. How should we be helping them through this difficult time?
That's such a good question, Maya. Lots of the kids that are here are just with their mums and they're worried about their uncles and their fathers and their grandparents. I think for kids arriving at a school, often you don't want to stick out. So you don't want to be known as the refugee or the Ukrainian, just another kid. And so I think just being sensitive, asking people if they're okay, you know, including them in things, making sure that they feel part of the gang rather than an outsider.
I think everybody can do that as well. They're not, you know, everybody can welcome someone in a friend group.
Exactly. I think sometimes little things like trying to learn a little bit of the Ukrainian language might be a nice way that you're showing value to another person. They're so happy when you just say a little thing like "Jak spravo" means "How are you?"
Jak spravo.
Yeah. Oh, mate, you're a
right.
natural.
Do I sound like that?
If someone asks you that, you say "Dobrze dobre," which means
Dobrze dobre.
I'm doing great. So just little things like this just help people know that we're there for them, we're listening, and we're doing what we can to make them feel welcome.
A lot of families are facing uncertainty about where they'll live once their agreement with the UK families come to an end. And that's a lot of pressure for them, really, isn't it?
It is. It would be great if we could help people stay where they are. And we've got a little campaign that we're running at Sanctuary Foundation, getting both our Ukrainian friends and those that are hosting them to write a letter to the government. So you could encourage people to make use of that.
And I think something not a lot of people think about is, you know, what about the Russian children? Can't even imagine what would be going through their head when they see what their own army is doing.
Yeah, it's so difficult. I think for a lot of Russians in Russia and Russians that are here, they're not supporting what's going on. That's not their army, that's their government's army, and they're not behind it. So I think that's another thing that we can do, try to bring peace and reconciliation in our schools and not allow prejudice and stereotypes to rule.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Now, there's nothing we love more at FYI than trying to spot fake news. So let's see if you can figure out which one of these stories is dodgy.
The world's richest man, Elon Musk, has told millions of people on social media that he's buying Manchester United. But could that really be true?
Or how about this story? Apparently, Shaun the Sheep is going on NASA's latest moon mission. Does that sound like fake news? Or is it one giant leap for mankind?
Still to come on this week's programme, underwater litter picking to try and save our planet.
It's been just over a year since British and American forces pulled out of Afghanistan, leaving a militant group called the Taliban to take control. Many Afghan people were worried about this because the Taliban have very strict rules about the way people can live their lives.
Yeah, the history of this is quite complicated, isn't it? Back in 2001, America and its allies, including the UK, invaded Afghanistan because the Taliban was supporting terrorist groups. But as soon as British and American troops left the country last year, the Taliban came straight back into power. They follow an extreme version of Islam, and they don't allow girls to get an education.
With the Taliban back in control, Afghan people who'd worked with the British military were in great danger, so the UK agreed to take in more than 20,000 refugees. But a year on, many of them are still living in temporary hotels.
Yeah, so to mark the 1-year anniversary, some people who fled to the UK have been flying kites, and I went along to find out why.
Kites have been one of the oldest traditions of Afghanistan. It's 800 years old, if not more.
The people used to fly them a lot before they got banned by the Taliban.
It's more than a pastime. It's an art form. It's something that brings everybody together.
Araz is 15 years old and was born in the UK, but still has fond memories of flying kites with his family who are back home in Afghanistan. They've been living under the Taliban rule for just over a year now.
Kites, whenever we lift our kites high into the sky, it just reminds me of Afghanistan. We used to go there every day with our cousins and family and friends. We used to have a fight with kites.
This kite flying festival is a chance for everyone here to celebrate their culture and to remind people of the plight of Afghan refugees. There was a time when the Taliban banned kite flying, as well as many other expressions of joy like music and dancing. So keeping the tradition alive is hugely important for Afghan refugees who are trying to make a new home in the UK. So I'm here with Jay and Jaden. Can you show me how to fly the kites?
Sure, you just tuck it up and then...
I've seen people holding it and then voila!
I have family in Afghanistan. They tried obviously evacuating from there, but it was impossible because the Taliban have blocked every way. They blocked the airports, the borders to each country. I just want them to just carry on with what's going on until it's finished and get sorted out.
I've met so many different people and I've learned so much about the Afghani culture, but what's really opened my eyes is that no matter where some of these people are in the world, they still make time for their culture. Even if it's something as simple as coming out on a warm, windy day to come fly a kite. And it's really lovely how many people came to support them.
It's so important to hold on to the roots and to what makes Afghanistan my country, my land. It's the music, it's the food, it's the kites in the sky, it's the pigeons over Kabul.
Check out this summer holiday video that's gone viral on social media. These guys are on a beach on the Greek island of Skiathos, but it also happens to be right next to the airport runway. Hold on to your sun hats. Now this is quite shocking. Water companies have been pumping untreated sewage water into the sea at over 50 beaches in the UK. It's because some drains and sewers couldn't handle the amount of heavy rain some parts of the UK have had just recently.
Yeah, things got so bad that swimmers were told it wasn't safe to go in the water. But it's not just sewage we need to look out for. The equivalent of a truckload of plastic waste is dumped into our oceans every single minute.
It's bad for marine life, but it also contributes to climate change. Oliver, who lives near Bristol, wanted to show us how he's doing his bit to try and make a difference.
Today we're in Wales, we're in Pembrokeshire. We're going to dive with Neptune's Army of Rubbish Cleaners. Just on a boat out there, we're going to pick up loads of marine litter. The oceans around us in the UK are really important because they host so many types of fish and mammals and different creatures and so many different habitats. They're very biodiverse, and if you go diving down there, it's amazing. Once I got in the water, I quickly spotted a lobster pot. A lobster pot's a kind of trap that fishing crews use for catching things like lobsters. And in this one, I can also see a female spider crab and a few velvet swimming crabs. By bringing the lobster pot back onto the boat, we can save the lives of these creatures and reduce marine litter.
Well done, Ollie.
So I'm going to release this lobster back into the sea. Yeah, he's a big one. There you go. When a fisherman has lost their fishing line or lobster pots due to a storm or some sharp rocks or something, they will continue to pick up fish, lobsters, crabs. At least 10% of marine litter is estimated to be made up of fishing waste. Abandoned fishing gear is responsible for harming 66% of marine mammal species. It felt really special when we were going down, picking up these pots, taking them out, because there were so many animals inside each pot, and to think that those could have kept on fishing and all the animals inside those pots would have just died, and we got them out in the end.
And if there's something you'd like to report on for FYI, then the best way is to join the FYI News Club. We love it when you get in touch with us, so check out the details on our website, first.news/FYI, and you could be on screen before you know it.
Check out this incredible photograph that's just been released showing the planet Jupiter. It was taken from the world's most powerful telescope, and you can even see a giant storm moving across the planet. Now that is out of this world.
Now, speaking of space, how did you get on with this week's fake news or fact?
The story about Shaun the Sheep blasting off on a moon mission with NASA is a fact. The Aardman character is representing the European Space Agency on an uncrewed flight. Eventually, NASA wants to take the first female astronaut to the moon.
Now, as for the story about the world's richest man, Elon Musk, buying Manchester United, well, he did write that on social media and lots of people believed him, but it turns out he was only joking. So that was the fake story. Well, that's it for today, but we're going to leave you with some brilliant shots of animals enjoying a drink during the hot weather.
Yes, Sue Cross is a farmer in Suffolk, but she also loves to take videos of the animals that pop up on her farm. And just recently, they've been loving the trays of water that she leaves out for them.
Great work, Sue, and we'll see you next week.
Bye!